So at this point, you should know whether you have LAZ data or LAZ LiDAR or DEM LiDAR. Okay, if you have DEM LiDAR, you can skip this entire video and go to the next video, which is specific to DEM. Okay, if you do not have DEM LiDAR, you need to go and use CloudCompare at this point to do a few things. The reason we have to do that is remember that LAZ data has a bunch of other things in it besides ground and water. It has potentially some trees in there. It could have roads. It could have a lot of stuff that we don't want. So we need to pull this all into CloudCompare, filter that stuff out, strip out the areas that we don't need, and then convert that to a TIF and pull those TIFs back into QGIS, which is the remaining part of this video. So let's get started. So first thing, open up CloudCompare. And then once you have CloudCompare, you need to open up the folder that contains your shapefiles. Okay, so that shapefiles folder that is part of the QGIS resource files. And then in there, these are the shapefiles. There should be 4 for your inner, there should be 4 for your outer, but the one we're looking for is the inner.shp file that you see here. You're going to take that file and you're going to drag it into CloudCompare. And then on this screen, you just hit yes to all. And now you have your inner shapefile. Double click on this poly name up here, this polyline number 1. And when you double click on it, you can rename this to inner. And now we're going to do the same thing with our outer. So let's go back into our shapefiles folder again, click on outer.shp. And then when you drag that in, again, you'll have this pop up, just hit yes to all. And we want to rename this one to outer. Now that you got that renamed, open up your folder that has all of your LAZ files, okay? And if you're listening to this, if you have DEM files, you should not be doing this, all right? You're going to go in and keep in mind that some of these LAZ files are huge, and you can, if you've got 16 of these or 20, and each one is 100 meg, you're talking 1.6 gig. So if you have a computer that's a little bit slower, a little bit tight on RAM, you might have some problems. There is an appendix in the written documentation that shows you, if you have problems with this, a potential workaround. But in the end, if you've got a really slow computer, you might struggle here. But you're going to take all of those, drag them into that blue area, and then you're going to unselect these things here in the middle. Okay, you're going to unselect all of these. So I want your screen to look just like this right now. Okay, so all those unselected. And then you're going to apply all. And at this point, you're going to do another yes to all, and all your files are going to start importing. And I'm going to skip ahead in the video here. But at some point, you might get another pop-up similar to the one you just had. Just hit yes to all. And then eventually all your LiDAR files are going to be imported in here. So here's the last one loading up. And now at this point, notice that our inner and outer shapefiles are completely covered with LiDAR. If you see any of your inner or outer shapefiles that aren't covered by LiDAR, you need to go back and download some additional tiles. So now if you recall in our theory, we have LAZ files. LAZ files include things like the ground, water, but they also include things like trees, roads, bridges, and a lot of things that we potentially do not want, okay? So we need to filter that stuff out. So here's how we're gonna do that. First thing you need to do is go up, and I want you to click on the first cloud LAZ file up here. You see exactly where my mouse is, and you see on the right where it says cloud. We're going to click on that and select it. Now we're going to scroll all the way to the bottom, and we are going to click the last cloud file, the last one. And while we're clicking it, we're going to hold down Shift. So Shift plus click. And you're going to see all these get selected. Now we're going to come up here to the top to this merge button and select it. And then after we do that, we're going to hit no on this screen. And it's going to take a couple seconds. especially if you have a slow computer. But when that's done, we're going to get this new file up here, this new cloud file, which is a merger of all of our LAZ files. So we're going to take that, double click on it, and let's rename it to merged. So now we have all that data in there. We need to filter out the ground and water. So let's go up here to the filter button at the top. And then our first thing we're going to do is we're going to type in 1.1 and then 2.1. And now we have this merged, this new merged or new cloud folder up here. So we're going to come up here and we just filtered out the ground. So we're going to rename this to ground. So the next thing we're going to do is unselect that. Let's go back up here to our merged. And we're going to do another filter. This time we're going to enter the values of 8.1 and 9.1 and hit export. Now we're going to get another cloud file up here and we're going to rename this one to water. And we're going to select both of those. And we can delete the original merged up there. And now that we've got both of these selected, we're going to merge these two together via the merge button. We're going to select no here. And then we're going to rename this new cloud file, this merged file up here, to the name of our course, Oakmont in this case, underscore merged. Okay, so now that we have our LiDAR data in a merged file, and it just consists of our ground and our water, we essentially need to like cut out the useful piece, using our inner and outer. So that's what we're going to do now. So the first thing we do is we're going to highlight our merged LiDAR and unselect it so we just see our inner and outer shapes. And then we're going to come up here and you'll see this little thing that looks like a pair of scissors up here, this tool. You're going to click on that and you'll get another toolbar over here to the right. Click the drop down on this polygon tool and select the rectangular selection. Now we're going to come back over here and drag right around our outer and let go. And then we're going to select this red polygon over here. And that's going to take a second to process. But once it's done, we'll get the green check mark. We're going to select that. And now our merge is going to split into two files after it's done. You'll see now that we have this remaining and segmented, okay? The remaining we don't need, okay? That was kind of like the excess that was cut off. So let's get rid of that. We're going to right click on it and just delete it. And then this segmented, we're going to highlight this, or check it, and we're going to double click on it and let's rename this to outer because this is essentially our outer LiDAR data at this point. And we're going to save this data so that we have it. We're going to highlight it again, come up here at the top and click save. And then we're going to make sure that we save this in our LiDAR folder and make sure that it is type LAZ cloud. And then click save. And then we can just keep the original resolution here. And that'll take a second to save. Pause it, let that go. Now that we've got that done, we need to rasterize this. So we're going to click, make sure that we got that LiDAR data that we just created highlighted in our DB tree. Go up here to the rasterize, this checkerboard up here at the top. We're going to click on that. Now, this step resolution, in here it's 1, that's 1 meter. If you're working in feet, we're going to change that to 3, okay? But we're working in meters in this particular LiDAR data set, so we're going to keep that as a 1. Direction, we're going to change this to Z if it's not already. Cell height, we're going to change it to average. And then instead of leave empty, we're going to take interpolate here. And now we're going to click update grid. But just, I'm going to pause the video here and make sure that you have all these settings set up correctly. We're going to click yes here, agree. And this is going to take a minute or two. It might look like that CloudCompare is locked up on you. Don't worry about it. Just give it a minute, and then you'll get this, grid that pops up here. Once that grid pops up, we need to rasterize this grid. So we're going to select average height here down at the bottom, and then click raster. And then just make sure that you have the same screen here, which is just the export heights selected. And now we're going to click OK. And then we're going to save this to our Oakmont TIF directory, in your case where the name of your course is, but we want to put it in that TIF folder, okay? And we're going to call this the name of our course, _outer, and then hit save. So now we have our outer rasterized image, and you can see down here in the log it's successfully changed. Now we need to do something similar with our inner. Very similar, but what we're going to do is we already have our outer LiDAR. So essentially what we can do at this point is we can cut out our inner out of this existing data. So let's just change this to inner now. So we rename that to inner. Let's uncheck it again. And remember those scissors up there at the top, same thing, click on those scissors. We're going to do this drop down, make sure it's the rectangle again. Now we're just going to go around our inner plot. We're going to click on that red polygon up here, wait till it's done processing, hit the green checkbox, and then again, we're going to get two different files over here. We got our remaining and our segmented. We can right click on our remaining and delete it. And now we want to work on our segmented. We're going to rename that to Oakmont, or the name of your course, inner, hit the checkbox. We're going to come up here at the top and we're going to save this one because this is our inner LiDAR data now, okay? Make sure the save as type is LAZ cloud. Keep the original resolution. And now we need to rasterize this as well. So we're going to come back up here to the rasterize tool. Now this window is going to pop up. Now here, what we need to do is we make sure that this size here is under 9,000 by 9,000. Each one of these has to be under 9,000. You're going to see if it's in meters, okay, we can start at 0.25 and adjust from there, okay? If you're in feet, put 0.75 in here and you adjust. Now, if it's over 9,000, okay, we need to keep on increasing that number until these two numbers under the size. So right now it says 8,078 by 1,036. Those two numbers need to be under 9,000. So in this case, we're okay. But if yours are not under 9,000, you need to gradually increase that number to be under 9,000, but as close to it as you can get to 9,000. So in this case, we're okay. We're going to click Update Grid. Just make sure that we still have those Z, average, and all those values are correct. And then we're going to hit Yes. Process. It might hang. It might take longer because we're processing some more data here. And then we're going to get this return, and we're going to hit rasterize here. Make sure that you have the average height checked, export heights here as well. And then we're going to save this one as, in our case, Oakmont Inner, but whatever the name of your course is. And we got to learn to type here, right? And then hit save. So now we need to go back into QGIS and let's select our Google layer, because if we do that, then when we import our TIF files in, they'll go above there inside the panel. So open up your TIF folder inside of your QGIS folders, and then we're going to take our outer and we're going to drag it over to our layers. And you're going to see here that we have this question mark. So the first thing we need to do is we need to remember where our project, or what our project CRS is, right? So remember, if we go into the project properties here, we'll see that this NAD, this is our CRS there. We need to set the same thing. So we click on this question mark here, and we're going to select the same CRS here. We're going to assign it. Now that question mark's gone because we have a CRS assigned. I'm going to do the same thing with our inner. So drag our inner over. It's going to be put right above the outer. Click the question mark and assign our CRS. Remember, it has to be the same CRS that we've been using the entire time. Go ahead and assign that. And the last thing we should do at this point is let's go up here and save our project. And we're done with this section.